Welcome back. The threat of heart disease and stroke is only going up for women and girls.
Yeah, a new study from the American Heart Association says 6 in 10 U.S. women are projected to have at least one type of cardiovascular disease by 2050. Here to talk more about this in depth is our 9 News medical expert, Dr. Payal Kohli. Thank you so much for being here. Let's dive into the report. What does it say? What are the highlights?
I mean, as a cardiologist, it knocked my socks off because I thought we were winning. And unfortunately, we've been losing for the last decade, but I thought we've made all these advances. We have all these great drugs, and now suddenly the tide is going to turn. We're going to be winning. But this was a crystal ball that looks into the future that tells us in the next 25 years, as you said, Alex, 6 out of 10 women are going to have some form of heart disease, most commonly high blood pressure, but also obesity. So 60% of American women will be obese and or hypertensive, and 1 out of 4 American women will have diabetes. And so to me, this is a real wake-up call that we have to do something different. Now, one caveat I'll say to this report is that they didn't look at the weight loss drugs, which we think are going to change the landscape of diabetes, high blood pressure, and of course, obesity. So this was kind of based on trends from the last 20, 30 years, not looking at those weight loss drugs.
Do they break this down on what they expect by age, older women versus younger women? I mean, I feel like even in 30s and 40s now, people are really taking heart health more seriously.
In fact, it should be even earlier than that, according to this report. So generally, we think of sort of 3 boxes of age risk category. Women under the age of 20, girls, like teenagers and young girls. We think of 20 to 45. That's kind of your reproductive years. Then menopause hits and 45 and above. Those were sort of the inflection points that we thought for women. So most of the stuff we thought happened in older women, especially heart disease. But if you look at this report, the women in that 20 to 44 age box, 1 out of 3 of them are going to have heart disease in the next 25 years. And that number is up, and it's going to be more hypertension, more diabetes, more obesity. And if you look less than 20, 1 out of 3 of our young girls are going to have obesity by 2025. So this all translates into us losing 1 out of every 3 women in our lives to heart disease. Your grandmother, your mom, your sister, your wife, your daughter. So it really, like I said, as a cardiologist, has my attention for sure.
Yeah, the statistics are staggering, and I think you can't have this conversation without talking about the inequities in access to health care. So how are the racial disparities affecting this as well?
And this is what really stood out too. We said, oh, medicine is colorblind. In fact, not only is it not colorblind, the color and racial disparities are getting worse, what we project. So Black women have the highest risk right now, have the highest risk of dying, have the most number of comorbidities, and they're projected to have the even higher risk of dying. 70% of Black women are going to have hypertension or obesity in the next 25 years. If you look at Asian women, that's where we're seeing obesity really climb in that subgroup, and the Hispanic women, we're seeing high blood pressure. So every age group is going to see a disproportionate, every racial group is going to see a disproportionate increase in their comorbidities, which is really going to compound their risk.
This is really scary and sobering. Is there any trend that you saw in here that does give you some hope, or maybe you see a pathway for we can make changes?
Yeah, so
hopefully we can affect this data in some way.
There was some good news. So we're making great advances on cholesterol. We're making great advances on diet, on exercise, and on not smoking. And in fact, we're expected to make even more advances in the next 25 years. So I think that wellness culture has really caught on. I think people have realized that cholesterol is a risk factor, but when it comes to the war on food and the ultra-processed food that we eat, I think we still need to do better. But the hope here is that this is just a prediction, right? It's like that movie Minority Report, right? Tom Cruise, like you predict that a crime is going to happen, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen, right? And so we have the power today to change this trajectory entirely. And that's what the American Heart Association really wants to point out, is that look at this as a glass half full, that this is where we're headed. But if we fix these Life's Essential 8, so if you go on their website, Google Life's Essential 8, and I want you ladies to both calculate your own risk score, it'll give you a personalized way in which you can improve your risk based on lifestyle changes. Now, we as the medical system also need to do better. As a cardiologist now, we've started doing something called primordial screening, which means screening girls in their teens and young women in their 20s before heart disease manifests. So we don't wait for it, we get ahead of it, knowing that it's most likely to happen, and then really working on those racial disparities as well, really being more aggressive, not just with treating women overall, but especially women of color.
Okay, Life's Essential 8, that sounds like it would be a game changer.
Yes.
Dr. Kohli, thank you.